Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the Rural Initiatives and Planning Advisory Committee. It's May the 16th, 2023, 2 p.m. Well, 2:02 p.m. and I'll call this meeting to order. There's been an agenda published. Everyone's had opportunity to review it. Everyone happy with that? And if they are, then we have a motion.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the May 16th, 2023 meeting be approved as presented.
I need a mover and seconder. Donna will move. Mark will second. All in favor? That's carried. The minutes of the last meeting held February the 24th were circulated. And if there are no errors or omissions, we have another motion.
Be it resolved that the minutes of the meeting held on February 24th, 2023 be adopted.
Again, a mover and seconder, please.
I'll move.
Deputy Warden Jones. Donna will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I would remind the committee members of any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none noted. Which brings us down to section 6, reports, briefings from the manager of administrative services to deputy clerk regarding the 2023 community grant program allocations. Jenna?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to members of the committee, the purpose of today's meeting is to review the recommended community grant program allocations for 2023. Just wait for the presentation. So during today's presentation, we'll do a brief program recap and we'll do an overview of the 2023 applications. We'll review the recommended allocations, and then we are seeking direction from the committee regarding next steps. Next slide. So the Rural Initiatives and Planning Advisory Committee is responsible for considering grant requests made to County Council through the Community Grant Program and providing recommendations to Council as to which organizations should be provided funding as part of the Council budget process. The revised Community Grant Program, which was approved in 2020, is divided into two streams: community services and festival and events. These two streams are further divided into cultivate for existing programs and events and seed for new programs and events. In 2023, no eligible seed applications were received. And the 2023 intake period, application period opened September 1st, 2022 and closed on November 10th, 2022. Next slide, please. So in 2020, the RIPA committee redesigned the CGP and the scoring matrices to ensure alignment with priorities identified in Council's strategic plan, to ensure that applicants are treated fairly and consistently, and to ensure enhanced transparency and accountability, including new evaluation tools to reduce subjectivity and bias. The revised scoring process ensures the committee objectively reviews applications and avoids bias while making transparent and fair recommendations to County Council. Submission of an application does not guarantee the organization will be awarded all or part of their grant request. Next slide, please. So for the 2023 intake period, a total of 15 applications were received. 2 of those applications did not meet eligibility requirements, and the proposed budget allocation for 2023 grants is $72,900, which works out to $3.68 per household for about 19,800 households. And the total eligible funding requests received for 2023 amount to $81,380. So the program is oversubscribed. Next slide. So the applications that were of the eligible applications that were received, 4 were for the community services stream and 9 were for the festival and events stream. Community services asks totaled $17,380, which was 21% of the total asks. And the festival and event asks totaled $64,000, which were 79% of the total asks. We received 0 eligible seed applications and 0 signage grant applications. Next slide, please. So just to recap the application scoring process, the applications were received by staff who screened the applications for eligibility criteria and determined whether they passed or failed. The committee members then reviewed the applications individually using approved scoring matrices to ensure impartiality. So the committee does not see each other's scores. The staff compiled the scores to determine the average total score for each application. And then we used a weighted factor formula to determine the allocations based on the average scores. So, and then today, the purpose of today's meeting is for the committee to review the recommended allocations and to reach consensus. So for the 2023 recommended allocations for the community services stream, these asks totaled $17,380. However, we have $15,569 available. So we are recommending that the Tillsonburg District and Multi-Service Center received $1,823. The STEAM Education Center, $8,973. Elgin 4-H, $1,725. And Quad County Support Services, $3,048 for a total of $15,569. For the festival and events stream, the total asks were for $64,000. And the available funds equal $57,331. So once we applied the formula to these, our recommended allocations are for the Elmer Fair, $8,764, Bay and Beach Fest, $9,424, Elgin County Pride, $5,577, Calypso, $9,451, Elgin County Plowmen's Association, $210, Wallace-Town Ag, $8,817, Rodney Ag, $9,213, Shedden Agricultural Society, $3,742, and Elgin Middlesex VON, $2,132 for a total of $57,331. Side. So we are looking for direction from the committee regarding the proposed allocations for both the community service and festival and events streams. And so should the committee reach consensus today, the next step would be for the chair to provide a report to County Council at the May 23rd, 2023 meeting. Following council's approval of the allocations, letters and funding agreements would be distributed to applicants who were awarded funding, and those who were not successful will also be notified. Next slide. So our proposed recommendations for today are that the committee endorse the community grant program allocations and that the committee chair be directed to present the proposed allocations to County Council. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Jenna, or Stephanie, could you take us back to the allocation for community services? That's the one. I'm wondering if we should kick off discussion at that point and see what the committee's thinking. If you're happy with that allocation. Yes, Donna? Is your mic on? Yeah, that's just so
Mr.
Grant can
Ward?
hear you. Yes, Grant?
Yeah, no, it looks fine to me.
Okay. Donna, you had some comments, please?
The Tillsonburg District Multi-Service Center. Clearly in our application, it says organizations must meet 2 of the following criteria.
Mhm.
And in reading, and I did check again, the application, they only check 1. So there's only 1 out of the 3. They do not have 2 out of the 3 for
Okay.
eligibility.
Do you have off top of your mind what those eligibility criteria were and that what we've
Yes.
missed,
The
Please.
organization's office is located in Elgin County and it's not.
right?
And the majority of service and program participants are from Elgin County and they're not.
Okay, and
So
what's the
there's one
third
they-
criteria?
The third one was the program or service benefits Elgin County. So
Okay.
some of it does come into Elgin.
Yes, it does. Was the or the request from the Tillsonburg District Multi-Service Center proportional based on the number of Elgin residents that they serve? I seem to recall that.
It could have been because they
Yeah.
have a huge budget, so that.
Sure they do.
So it could have been, but I think we have to be very clear when we ask them to, that they must meet two of the following, and they only checked one, that we need to be consistent and fair with all treatment. So
Right.
I'm just bringing that up as a point.
Okay. Any thoughts on that from either Mark or Grant? Yes, Grant?
It's, yeah, that was my understanding, I think at our first meeting, that it was because they're identifying just Elgin County people. That being said, this is my first kick of the cat, so I'm not sure how that was managed the last couple of years previous, so I don't have that history to look back at why and wherefores.
Okay. Any thoughts, Mark?
Well, Donna has a point. They didn't check the boxes off, and that's the beginning of what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So at what point do you say it's okay and just keep going on? I do think there's some Elgin residents that are benefiting from it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you have to make the choice to either allow it or disallow it, I guess. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So what's the proposal? What would you prefer to do? Would you like to just disqualify them and move and reallocate that group? The funds across the other groups? Is that what you're thinking?
I do think they have very good programs,
Mhm.
although I do think they overlap Mennonite community service programs in Elgin County. I think we have to provide feedback to all applicants that this has to be eligible. So I don't have a problem either way, you know,
Okay.
with granting it, but I think we need to be very clear about our criteria.
That's a fair statement or comment. I think, yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Thank you. I don't think, I would allow it. I mean, it's a good program, but we should maybe make it clear that this wasn't properly filled out. Next time it better be, you won't get anything. But I think it's a good program. It should be funded. So, not huge money anyway, so.
Okay, what are your thoughts on that, Grant?
I'm okay with that.
Steve, you had some comments?
I guess from a legal perspective, you could always give them an opportunity to review and complete their application. That's the ultimate in checking the box.
It is the ultimate in checking the box. Yeah. I'm thinking in terms of timing, like we're a little late in getting these things out as it is. I agree with what Mark is suggesting and what Don is as well, that going forward, if you want to be eligible for this funding, you have to strictly qualify. And in the letters that go out, maybe that's something that needs to be reminded that yeah, we are kind of skirting it because we have approved them in the past. Right. What about the other allocations? Everybody okay with those?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay,
I would suggest again, Chair, that we do provide feedback to
Mhm.
the individuals. I did make some comments on my charts. If I could go through any of them, but certainly the 4-H needs to be a little more clear. And we know the program's there, we know it's legitimate, but when they say they're reimbursing the funds, the youth don't pay the funds here, they pay it to the province, but here if they refund. So they just need to be a little more clear about that. Quad County, I love the program. I really would like to see numbers of how many Elgin youth are participating in their reporting back. I think it would just help them create a solid grant.
A more robust application, yes. I guess what I was wondering, whether, yeah, if everyone's comfortable with the allocation, that's fine. I know the 4-H is one of those ones that they're not asking for a whole lot,
No.
but at the same token, they're not quite getting all they asked for, but the application was lacking,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Mhm.
Yeah. For example, I don't believe they provide their financials.
Yep,
Wow. Did you see it?
yes, but yes, by book reviewers. Yeah. I did.
Okay. All right. Okay, if there are no more comments on the community services, maybe we can flip over to the next slide, which is the festivals and events. And take a look at those allocations. And I'll entertain comments.
Chair,
Yes, Grant, please.
I was wondering about the Bayham Beach Fest. I had heard it had been canceled this year, but did it get reinstated or?
It's
how's-
it's a really good question because they were really late in getting an application through the BAM itself. I know they're still going to be running their fireworks display, and it's a long weekend in August. But whether they're going to be running the actual festival or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's unclear. Like if they weren't running their festival or their event, I can understand why would we fund it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's the question. Is this
Mhm.
contingent on it being, they, it's pretty hard to claw money back once you give it, but,
Well, it certainly is, but also when the requirements of the program are to report on the success of their program for the next application, and if it's
Yeah.
not there, then they wouldn't qualify for another year.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Donna, please.
Sorry, you can, because I write grants. I also am concerned about the Seniors Day in the park.
Mhm.
And I was looking at the financials and the city didn't fund it in 2022.
Hmm.
So if they're not funding it this year and we do, then I think it should be held in a county park.
I would agree. I would agree. I'm not sure how we get the message
I know.
across because they go to Pinafore.
I think this is county people's money and I think we need to respect that. And I just thought that was odd that it wasn't, the city didn't fund it. Anyway, just another question and I think we need to get some good feedback from the festivals and events as well.
You know, you're absolutely right, because the criteria is not only to benefit Elgin residents, but to be held within the confines of Elgin
Mhm.
County. So it's an interesting observation. Yeah.
Hmm.
Any other comments on any of these allocations?
just one more from my perspective.
Mhm.
And obviously the Shed and Ag Society / Shed and Fair, that was, I was pretty disappointed with their application, actually. I've talked to a couple of people. And it comes down to volunteers a lot of times and the time they have and the ability they have to fill out these applications. I think it's similar to the Plowman's Association, where it's a very small amount they're asking for, but the applications are pretty weak.
Yes.
They are. I think that's reflective in the scoring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any observations from staff? Are you all good? It's up to the committee then.
Observation maybe,
Please.
and that was just, I saw the Calypso one was down to the cents. It was the only one.
That was my error.
Oh.
It should, they were all rounded up to the dollar. It doesn't change the total at the bottom.
All right, am I sensing then there's a consensus to go with the allocations? Mark?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Warden. I'm not quite clear on the Bay and Beach Fest, so we have to have proof they're gonna have it, I guess. We're not gonna get the money out. So how do we figure that out?
Agreed, I understand, in the report on the program, they apply for next year. Then there has to be a reporting mechanism or follow-up on how successful for how they reach. It's not there. Pretty much disqualified as a future grant. I understand. I know, same thing, like being, say, watermelon, that's not true, didn't get eligible, they didn't allocate funds for it, but they were never spent. Just simple.
The agreement, since I know something about that one as well, the agreement can be canceled at any time. And there is a requirement for reimbursement of any expended funds. So the other aspect is that if there was an application for a certain event and that event as described did not occur, like for instance, if all they had was the fireworks as opposed to fireworks and something else, again, that can be clawed back under the agreement if that money is available. If it's not available, that creates a whole different. Send Andrew to small claims court.
Jen, please.
Through you, Mr. Warden, to the committee, is there provision in the agreement to just allocate some of the funds to the groups? In case they don't have their event and just say, we don't want to give you the whole amount if until you've committed to the event. I'm not sure what that would look like.
I don't recall a partial distribution, but I think that that is one way of looking at it, or simply saying that the money can be distributed upon confirmation that the event is being held, or that.
Is that available within the agreement, Steve? I don't
can't-
recall.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, I don't think that there's necessarily a partial. I mean, the agreement simply provides for the approval
Mhm.
of the specific amount. And so I don't think that, I think if we added a condition, I think that would be acceptable. At least from a contract
Right,
standpoint.
okay. Jenna, please.
I believe it was either last year or the year before, there was an organization that didn't hold their event. And the committee did request the funds back, and so they paid the funds back to us. I can't remember who it was, but I do recall that happening.
Yeah, I don't recall which event that was myself. I don't.
I think it was due to COVID restrictions that they couldn't hold it.
All right. Okay, any other thoughts? We good? Yep, Steve, please.
I'm sorry for actually participating more than I thought I was going to.
That's good.
Back to the community services, the STEAM Education Center. In my other capacity, there was concerns raised about that grant from last year. and whether or not it was properly reported. And that's my only, I know that there was Mr. Chair, you mentioned about the reporting function. And I don't know whether or not that was actually ever completed.
You know, I don't recall either. It was a long time ago when I looked at these things. January, February.
I do think that we need to be a little stronger on the feedback
Yeah.
from them as well and from the reporting stance. Because the STEAM Center didn't check the eligible box that the majority are Elgin residents. They did check the other two boxes. And so I'd like to know the numbers of the Elgin residents that participate in the program.
Right.
They should be able, all of these organizations should be able to capture the benefits specifically to Elgin residents.
Fair point. Making notes as we go. Good. Okay. Any further discussion on either the community services or festivals and events? We're ready to make a recommendation then to council?
I think we are, from my
Okay.
point of view.
Okay, Jenna,
Be it resolved that the Rural Initiatives and Planning Advisory Committee endorse the community grant program allocations as presented, and that the Rural Initiatives and Planning Advisory Committee Chair be directed to present the proposed grant allocations to County Council for approval.
anyone willing to move that? Mark will move. Grant will second. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Which brings us down to section 11, date of the next meeting. Be held to call the chair. I knew this was going to be a quick meeting, so we are now at the adjournment motion.
Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 2:29 PM to meet again at the call of the chair.
Okay, mover and seconder. Donna will move. And Mark will second. All right, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you again for your time today and getting this done. Again, we're a little behind schedule, but still moving forward.